Hi, everybody. I'm Mike. This is Budget Guns and Gear Reviews, and you are listening to The Right of the People, where we use the first to defend the second every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. So uncover your keyboards and fire up your fingers. Time to join the conversation.
Hey, everybody out there on the YouTubes and the gun channels. Thanks for stopping by. This is not Friday. This is, in fact, Sunday, May 12th, 2019. It is Mother's Day. Please tell me you at least called your mother today to thank her for, like life and stuff. So, got a lot to talk about today. But first, I want to welcome Kingpin for stopping by. Good to see you, sir.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem. Out there in the chat, we got Gun Loving Grandpa, Jason Stewart, Rob D, New York Outcast, Grim 90, Warsaw Patriot. Hello, hello. If you're out there in the chat and you haven't posted anything in the chat, I have no idea you're out there. I can't say hi. Over on the gun channel side, let's see who we got over there. Takes me a minute for this to refresh over there. Got Mr. White and the Kingpin over there too. So hello, hello. First thing I want to talk about today is sort of a continuation of a story that we've been covering. Anyone who watches the show, you're familiar with the entire Wayne Lapierre debacle with the NRA and the whole drama and story behind that. And I'm not going to spend the entire show on this. I just want to go over it because I think that it's good to have this info out there in the interest of having information, but I'm not going to spend a whole terrible length of time talking about it. This is from The Hill from May 11th. Leaked documents show more than $500,000 in alleged spending by NRA CEO by Rachel Frazen. Documents published online reportedly show more than $542,000 that the National Rifle Association's public relations firm alleges the organization's CEO, Wayne Lapierre, billed it, including $39,000 for shopping at a clothing store in one day, $18,300 for a car and driver in Europe, and $13,800 in rent payments for an intern. I wonder if that was a Monica-style intern and that's why he's paying her rent. The anonymously posted expense reports are seemingly genuine, a source familiar with the original documents told the Wall Street Journal. The expenses also allegedly include more than $200,000 in air transportation costs in less than a month, partially connected to a Christmas-time Bahamas visit by Lapierre, the Journal reported. The documents include letters that the PR firm, Ackerman McQueen, reportedly wrote to Lapierre. We need to address your wardrobe you required us to provide, specifically purchases at the Zegna store in Beverly Hills, California. One letter reportedly said, including an attached list of expenses from 2004 to 2017, worth $274,695.03. NRA President Carolyn Meadows told the newspaper in a statement that, quote, the entire board is fully aware of these issues. We have full confidence in Wayne Lapierre, unquote. I wonder if full confidence means the same as unanimous. It is troubling and pathetic that some people would resort to leaking information to advance their agendas, she added. What agenda? The agenda of making the NRA accountable and using the dollars of the membership wisely instead of spending $40,000 on a new wardrobe for its executive vice president? Yeah, oh man, hell. That's a horrible agenda. You know, changing the NRA from a cash cow for Wayne Lapierre and his cronies to what it's actually supposed to be. Man, that's a sinister agenda there. What in the PG show, Mike? PG show. The Hill has reached out to the NRA for additional comment. The letters were published as the gun rights organization faces both internal strife and external inquiries. Last month, then NRA President Oliver North announced he was leaving the group after the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal reported problems between him and Lapierre. The newspapers uncovered a letter Lapierre reportedly wrote to the NRA's board accusing North of extorting him over financial wrongdoing allegations. New York's Attorney General last month launched an investigation into the NRA's tax-exempt status. Senate Democrats have also sent letters to North, Lapierre, and Ackerman McQueen CEO Reverend McQueen requesting documents related to financial impropriety reportedly alleged by North. So there you go. More details in this. You know, I've been on the fence about, support the NRA, try to make change from within, or stand back and fiddle like Nero did, and I'm starting to rosin up my bow. That's what I think. What about you, Kingpin?
Well, it's the corruption that we've been talking about, especially when it comes to this. Somebody saw that bill come across their desk. Like we talked about in the pre-chat, no business on the planet has a $40,000 bill come across and said, "Oh, okay, 40 grand, whatever." They inspect that and they want to know why and what it's about, where it's done, and who spent that money. And people saw it and were just let it go. Either they were ordered to let it go and they should have stood up and said, "No, I'm not letting it go," or they were all complicit and, "Oh, okay, well, Wayne needed some new clothes." Okay. So that's a big problem. And I've been a big fan of tear it down from the inside so the left can't tear it down from the outside and then stand on the rubble and say, "Look what we did." Man, it just gets worse and worse. It sounds
The
so
problem
bad.
is they're making things, as we've been talking about, the board has made things such, the executive committee on the board actually has made things such that you can't do anything. That
Yeah.
nobody can do anything from within. They have a stranglehold on it. So, I really, really, really hate to say this. I'm almost welcoming the Attorney General of New York to just take a hammer and a wrecking bar and tear the whole thing down to rubble, chuck it in a dumpster, and let's start over.
It's either that or a mass exodus. Either way, if the Attorney General tears it apart, then it's bad. If
Oh, yeah.
every single member removes their membership, that's bad too. Because if all the members go away, there is no saving it. You can't unbecome a member, and then when the thing no longer exists, become a member again. You'd have to rebuild it all from scratch again.
Yeah. So this is it's a sad tale. They had a chance to save it. They did.
Yeah.
They absolutely did. But they chose not to. So at any rate, like I said, I'm not going to spend forever on this. I just wanted to let you guys know about it. Make your own decisions on this. Just got to have the information to make that decision, though. Look like we have some more people out there in the chat. Let's see. We got, where are we? Warsaw Patriot, Gabe Stark. Hey, how you doing? You know what, Gabe? You actually need a wrench. So let me go ahead and boom, fix that. There's your wrench. Enjoy. For those of you that don't know, if you are a patron on Patreon, you get a wrench. So if you want a wrench, go on over. Let's see. Warsaw Patriot, Kingpin, Clint Torres. Hey, how you doing, guys? 16 people out there. Glad to have you. So, yeah, moving on from this dumpster fire that the NRA has become. Yeah, I really do need to find a picture of a flaming dumpster and put the NRA's logo on it, so I can just use that on as a thumbnails for these things anymore, because that's pretty much what it's become.
Obnoxious has got one you could borrow.
Awesome. Yeah, Warsaw. He asked if I had heard about the guy in L.A. whose guns were illegally confiscated. He had over 1,000 rifles and pistols, and he'd done no harm to nobody. I haven't heard the full story on that. Haven't investigated that fully, so I wasn't really going to talk about that today because I don't know if the guy did anything. I know there were allegations that he was illegally manufacturing and selling weapons. But from the pictures I saw in the video I saw, it just looked like his looked like a pretty darn good collection. So I don't know. I don't know what the truth of that matter is. So I really can't speak intelligently upon it. Well, not that I speak intelligently upon anything, frankly. I just kind of get up here and bloviate. Another story I actually forgot to put in the title of this. CNN swells school shooting numbers via pellet gun crime, nighttime drug deals. Gee, this is a shock, isn't it? CNN released a list of 2019 school. This is, by the way, is a piece by A.W.R. Hawkins in Breitbart from May 9th. CNN released a list of 2019 school shootings Wednesday that includes pellet gun incidents and nighttime drug deals gone bad. The inclusion of such incidents, along with accidental discharges, possible drive-by shootings, etc., allows them to claim 15 school shootings this year. CNN reports 19 weeks into 2019, there have already been 15 school shootings in the U.S. in which someone was hurt or killed. They then list the 15 so-called school shootings. One of the shootings was a gun accidentally discharged in a Grambling State dorm, and another was an incident where a child was shot in the hand while on a school bus, but the person who fired the shot was never located and was not believed to be on the bus. Another of the incidents occurred when a 16-year-old student was shot at Tascasita High School while trying to buy marijuana from a 17-year-old student. Click 2 Houston reports that this incident happened about 6:15 p.m. in a parking lot outside the school, yet CNN counts it as a school shooting. A Memphis, Tennessee student was treated for injuries after being shot with a pellet gun at school. WMC5 reported that the student would be okay, and police could not determine how the pellet gun ended up in the school. CNN also counts this as a school shooting. CNN also cites a situation where someone who was not a student was shot while confronting a burglar in a school parking lot. This also counts as a school shooting. So here we see what I've been saying, folks, is the deceitfulness, the outright lies perpetrated by the media in order to further their agenda. These people will stop at nothing to further their political aims. You know, they'll make things up. They'll exploit any tragedy. They'll do whatever they can to try to make political hay. Hey, Fusty Fork 8, how you doing? Good to see you, neighbor. Well, kind of. You're about, 10, 15 miles from me, but good to see you. Long Wolf Saint, good to see you. I don't think I recognize your username, so welcome. Hope you enjoy the show. If you're wondering what exactly this is, The Right of the People is where I present news articles and current events that relate to the Second Amendment and talk about them with my panel and or the people out there in the chat. So please, this is a conversation. It is a two-way street. So go ahead and post any opinion you have on it. I just ask that people try to keep it at PG-13 at the worst. I try to be a family-friendly show, even if I do sometimes get a little bit worked up. So go ahead, Kingpin.
I got a school in my backyard. We've talked about it plenty of times. If I were to go out right now and bang a couple shots into the ground with any gun, whether it be a 22 or AR or handgun, whatever,
Apparently a pellet gun too.
That's a school shooting.
Yep, absolutely right. They would. Andrew Faulkner says if you threw empty brass, they'd call it a school shooting. Yeah, probably. I wouldn't doubt it. Just to inflate these numbers. It's to their advantage to have these school shooting numbers be as large as they can make it, because again, it furthers their agenda. And everything is subservient to the agenda with them. A case in point, we all know, I'm sure, unless you've been living under a rock, you heard about the school shooting in Colorado most recently at the STEM school, where there were two individuals that went in and opened fire. They were stopped by a group of students. One of them was And sadly, one of the students gave his life and bought the others the time to subdue the shooter. Because of that, there was only one death, but there were several others wounded. And I hate to say only one death, because one death is a tragedy in and of itself. It's not only anything, So please don't think that that's what I'm trying to belittle that young man's sacrifice, because I'm not. That I'm not trying to belittle the death of only one person. That I'm not. But what I'm saying is that because of his heroic sacrifice, the damage was contained. And I bring this up not because I want to ghoulishly talk about someone being injured, someone being killed. I bring this up to illustrate the point that I was trying to make about the media and about the anti-gunners and about the Democrats, is that these people will callously and heartlessly take advantage of any tragedy that they can in order to further their agenda. Yeah, Clint, we're getting to that. Clint says they kind of dropped that one after they found the shooters were gay, transgender leftists. Yeah, we're getting there. And again, that speaks to the lies of the media and the misinformation of the media. Because shortly after that incident, we had all the Democrat presidential hopefuls going out and screaming for more gun control, saying that, well, as Joe Biden said, we need to deal with the Second Amendment rationally. Kamala Harris is promising. Shoot, where'd that go? I thought for sure I had that one pulled up. Kamala Harris is promising to take gun dealers' licenses away with executive actions if she's elected. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and read that one as soon as I can pull it up. Kamala Harris, if elected, I'll take away gun dealers' licenses with executive action. Sunday on CNN State of the Union, 2020 presidential hopeful Senator Kamala Harris said if she was elected president, she'll use executive action to take away gun dealers' licenses who fail to follow the law. When asked if she'd support a federal gun license, she said, "I like the idea, but on this issue, the need for gun safety losses, we're not at any loss for good ideas. People have been having good ideas for decades on this issue." That depends on what your definition of good is. Universal background check, good idea. Don't they have them out there? Et cetera, et cetera. Anyhow, she's wanting to take away gun dealers' licenses via exaction, because we can forget about such things as due process and all of that good stuff, right? Forget about the Constitution and the Second Amendment and whatnot. Not that she'll get elected, but she might. We'll see how that goes. But my point is, between her and Swalwell and Biden, Swalwell's calling for an assault weapons ban that must prohibit current possession. So not even any grandfathering. We have Joe Biden saying that we need to deal with the Second Amendment rationally, but not saying what rationally is. And then we got old Uncle Joe calling for gun controls that already exist following the Colorado school shooting. Let's see. Biden was campaigning in Los Angeles Wednesday when asked about the shooting. The Guardian News quoted him saying, "The idea we don't have universal background checks, the idea that we don't have an outlaw a number of the weapons I was able to get outlawed in the crime bill for large magazines to assault weapons, this is crazy." Biden listed 3 gun controls in response: universal background checks, assault weapons ban, and high-capacity magazine ban. The problem with his suggestions is that Colorado already had universal background checks and a ban on high-capacity magazines. They do not have an assault weapons ban, but such a ban would have been of no consequence as handguns were used in the STEM school shooting. Similar pleas for more gun control were issued Wednesday by Chelsea Handler, Alyssa Milano, Gabby Giffords, and Representative Ilhan Omar, although none of the pleas were coupled with calls for specific gun control that does not yet exist. So my point is, these people are hammering and hammering and hammering at our rights using any tragedy that they can as a weapon. And it's disgusting. It's sick, and I'm tired of it. And fortunately, other people are getting tired of it too, including those who were directly affected by these incidents. This is a piece from GOP USA. It is Colorado Democrats, gun control group politicized vigil, STEM students walk out. Organizers of a vigil for victims and survivors of the Colorado school shooting that killed a student and injured 8 are apologizing after students complained the event politicized the tragedy and ignored them. Wednesday night's vigil was organized by the student arm of the Brady Gun Control Group and included speeches by presidential hopeful Senator Michael Bennet and U.S. Representative Jason Crow, both Democrats. Let's see. At one point, someone shouted that students should be allowed to speak, and organizers talked with students in a hallway about how to include them. Some students chanted and others railed against the media and called for remembering Kendrick Castillo, the student killed while trying to stop one of the gunmen Tuesday. Students eventually were invited to speak. Let me go back through and read a bunch of tweets that they had up here too. Let's see. Kyle Clark, STEM school students walked out of a vigil tonight. After Jason Crow and Senator Bennett spoke, students said their grief was being politicized. They later returned, took the mic, and some said they didn't want to be used to promote gun control. This is from Trevor Hughes. Frustrated, crying, and angry, STEM school shooting victims hold an impromptu vigil in the rain Wednesday. After leaving a gun control vigil, they felt inappropriately politicized their trauma. They asked that I not photograph their faces close up, and I respected their wishes. From Ryan Saavedra. Moms Demand Action's Laura Reeves heavily politicizes the STEM school Highlands Ranch vigil, blames the NRA, demonizes pro-gun politicians, advocates working to elect Democrats, tells students to register voters, stage walkouts to raise money, and use social media to promote gun control. This is the woman multiple people I talked to identified as the one who angered students and caused them to storm out of the vigil because they felt like she was lying, using them, heavily politicizing the tragedy, and trying to capitalize on their pain. Democratic Representative Jason Crow said thoughts and prayers were empty and hollow at the vigil. Crow and Democrat Senator Michael Bennet both called for more gun control. Neither could state how any law would have prevented the shooting. Both did recognize a student who died. It's also worth noting neither Democrat advocated for protecting children in schools. Their solutions were vague, no specifics were given, but revolved around taking away the constitutional rights of law-abiding Americans. And that's it right there. That's what he hit on. That was the entire purpose of those people, and yeah, I'm saying those people, organizing that rally. It had not a damn thing to do with the student that was killed, with Mr. Castillo. Had nothing to do with protecting the students that were left, or recognizing their grief, or trying to give them comfort and solace. It had absolutely nothing to do with any of that. The only thing it had anything to do with was using that tragedy to further their own political aims and take our rights. Period. That's all it was for. And these kids have recognized that. And I am so glad to see that they would not allow those wretched, pathetic excuses for human beings to do that. Ugh. Fired, man, I was so angry about that, but so gladdened to see that someone's finally standing up to it. I hope the rest of the country does this, and I hope that the rest of, if and when this happens again, that trend continues instead of like the Parkland kids did and allow themselves to be used and put themselves out there for their 15 minutes like hogwash.
Well, the thing that we got to look at with these students, and I haven't looked into any of it. That's the most that I've heard about it. You know, I saw that they got up and walked out, but that's the most detail I've heard in it so far. Is whether or not those kids are pro-gun or anti-gun, we have to still support what they did. All those kids may be anti-gun. They may want gun control. They may want magazine bans. They may want assault weapons bans. But the fact that, like I've been saying, they're tired of the corruption. And they decided, I've had enough with this corruption. You're not going to use and abuse us. And they got up and walked out. We have to celebrate that. Even if those kids come back and say, we want to take away the guns. Now, it's a hard thing to understand, and it's a hard thing to agree to. But standing up against the corruption is where we can meet in level ground. And if you can tell those kids, look, we're right with you. Here's where we can see eye to eye: is the politicians are corrupted and they don't care about you in the first place. Then we can go talk about guns later.
Yeah. And I agree. It doesn't matter what these kids' political views are. They're entitled to them. Hey, more power to you. This is the land of the free, at least notionally. So I support that, but I also support what they did in saying, you know what, we're tired of this. Not going to happen here, pal.
Yep.
And I have to applaud them for that.
Yep.
It illustrates to me, as I've said, the callousness of these anti-gun people, the Democrats, the liberals, those who wanted the homophobes, whatever label you want to put on them. It illustrates the callousness and hypocrisy that they have. The media, when talking about this incident, wanted to harp on the gun control aspect of it immediately. But if you'll notice, this thing dropped off the radar right quick when it started coming out that the sickos involved in this were leftists.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is from Breitbart, from May 8th by AWR Hawkins. Report: Colorado school shooter, allegedly a registered Democrat, praised Obama. Alleged Colorado school shooter Devon Erickson is reported to be a registered Democrat who praised Obama in social media posts. Heavy reports that Erickson is a Democrat and shared posts criticizing Donald Trump and praising Barack Obama. Erickson used a Facebook post to express opposition to Christians. You know what I hate? All these Christians who hate gays. Yet in the Bible it says in Deuteronomy, if someone doesn't do what their priest tells them to do, they're supposed to die. It has plenty of crazy stuff like that, but all they get out of it is, ew, gays. Erickson's Facebook also includes Occupy Democrats memes in support of Obama. Police arrested Erickson and one other suspect in connection with the May 7, 2019 STEM school shooting. A handgun was used in the attack. Douglas County Sheriff's Office tweeted, 7, possibly 8 students have been injured, 2 shooters in custody, SWAT still clearing school, etc., etc. So, I didn't even know that one of them was a leftist Trump hater, which, hey, surprise, surprise, right? That they wouldn't put that out there, but they also wouldn't put out this other article from Breitbart, AWR Hawkins. No, actually, this is by Dr. Susan Berry from May 9th. Alleged Colorado juvenile transgender shooter identified. Yep, juvenile transgender shooter. The alleged juvenile shooter at STEM School Highlands Ranch Tuesday has been identified as Maya McKinney, a girl who is reported to be transitioning from female to male, said the Denver Post. McKinney, 16, who uses the name Alec, is being charged under her legal name of Maya Elizabeth. According to the report, McKinney and the other school shooting suspect, Devon Erickson, 18, appeared at Douglas County Courthouse Wednesday. McKinney sat next to her mother, who reportedly remained at the table in the courtroom alone, crying after her daughter was removed. While both suspects remain in custody, District Attorney George Brockler is scheduled to announce formal charges against them Friday. He also plans to announce whether he will charge McKinney as an adult. The shooting at the school left an 18-year-old male student dead and 8 others injured, according to the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. The Post reported that McKinney's attorney offered some clarity to his client's gender identity during the court hearing after Douglas County Sheriff Tony Spurlock identified the juvenile suspect as a boy immediately after the shooting and then as a girl during an early Wednesday morning news conference. During the hearing, McKinney's defense attorney, Ara Ohanian, asked that his client's handcuffs be removed. The judge declined, citing what she'd read in court filings. The court does find, this is District Court Judge Teresa Slade, also withheld bonds, saying that the court does find that Mr. McKinney is a danger to others. Freshman Ben Lamos told the Post McKinney was transgender and had personal problems that included a negative experience with school. Heavy reported McKinney posted to her Twitter account that her mother said she missed my Alec, can you find him for me? And that McKinney responded, I miss my dad, can you find him for me? The report also noted that a friend of McKinney and Erickson's also posted to Instagram that both suspects are struggling with mental health issues. So, and I don't want to make this about the fact that these two were transgender or gay or any of that stuff, because that's not really relevant. They're criminals. That's the main relevant thing. But I do find it awful funny that the media is covering for their allies on the left in burying that kind of information. You know, because we're it a MAGA hat wearing, Bible thumping, transphobic male, that would have been all over. You know, if there would have been Facebook posts praising Trump and condemning Obama by one of the shooters, you know that would have been spread all over all over the place, all over the media. So it goes to illustrate the point that I've made over and over again, that the media is in collusion, and yes, I use that word with malice aforethought. The media is in collusion with the left in their agenda, in advancing their political agenda. Always has been, and unfortunately always will be. That's why new media like this, like many of you out there who have a camera and turn it on, or have a microphone and get in front of it, that's why new media like this is so horribly important, so that we can spread the word and tell even a few people. I got 20 watching now. Well, that's 20 people that are actually hearing this stuff instead of 20 who wouldn't if they were relying on them. What do you think, Kingpin?
I've got this terrible brain abnormality, and it's called a memory, and it goes back surprisingly far. Like, I can remember way back to 6 months ago when the guy in the van was sending fake bombs to the news people, and he was supposedly Mr. Big Trump supporter. And then all of a sudden, when the actual facts started coming out about the guy, they forgot all about him.
Yep.
Now it's no story at all. And remember the guy who shot Steve Scalise, who was posting all kinds of stuff about Bernie Sanders and Rachel Maddow? Oh, nobody talks about him anymore. And the Democrats were defending that guy who was shooting at officers. Whether or not you like the politicians or not, the DC officers were getting shot at too.
Yep. How do I want to say this? You know,
don't make me put you in timeout.
Yeah, man. Now my hourglass is turning over and over. I just kind of drew a freaking blank there for a second, man. What the heck?
It's hard to remain calm sometimes, man.
It is. No, these guys, I've said it before, and you just illustrated the point for me, that the most dangerous thing we have with the media isn't their ability to decide. It isn't the stories that they tell. It's the stories that they don't tell. It's the stories that they won't tell. That is the most dangerous thing about the media. They control the narrative. That's why their alliance with the left in this country has been so detrimental to anyone else. They control the narrative. They control the public comments. They control. I mean, look at the censorship that goes on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on all the social media, which is heavily dominated by the left. It's all controlled by leftist leaning corporations, which is odd because the left is always talking about corporations bad. But all the big tech corporations seem to love the left, so go figure. It just it's just goes to show you that they're railing against corporations, and capitalism is nothing more than a tool to advance their agenda, because that's all it ever is about them. Clint Torres says, just like the media never talked about the black guy in Kansas City that was hunting white people along a hiking trail. He actually killed 5 people. See, I had never heard about that ever. This is the first I've heard about it. So yeah, their dangerousness isn't in what they tell us, it's what they don't tell us. Their lies of omission are in many ways worse than the lies that they deliberately tell. It's you don't know what they don't tell you, and that means you don't know a lot, and that's just how they want it. Let's see. Poor Conservative says, yep, the MSM controls the public square, but the American people, for the most part, are stupid enough to buy into the narrative. Yes and no. I think that, well, if that were the case, we'd have President Clinton right now. I think if the majority of the American people were stupid enough to buy it, I think we'd have President Clinton.
That's one of the things I wanted to address. Warsaw had said something along the same vein that our country's gone to the pot, and I don't believe that. If everybody was as racist and as hateful and as evil as the mainstream media makes them out to be, I'd see some of that stuff, and I don't. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I'm saying that in your general everyday life, when you go out and talk to the people that you interact with, now you may have a different situation because of your job, but your average everyday Joe Schmo citizen that goes to work and bangs nails or pushes a paper across the desk doesn't confront this mass amounts of racism and sexism and gun violence and mental illness and all these kinds of things. It's not out there. If it was out there, we'd know about it. But the CNNs of the world want to tell you that everybody's racist, everybody's a bigot, everybody's got a mental health issue, and it's just not true. And if you believe in it, then you're getting played, is what's happening. And that goes back to what you were talking about before, the corruption of the media. To just absolutely lie to people to bend their will is as devious as you can possibly get.
Yeah. Hey, Night Strike, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm feeling infringed just by the Democratic presidential candidates, because Mr. Spartak, I am Spartacus himself. Dear Lord, someone tell that guy to shut up.
No. Let him keep running his mouth. All he's doing is exposing them even more than they already are.
The only upside to him spouting his mouth off is, he apparently it's not going well for him in the polls at this point right now, because the more he says, the more anti-gun rhetoric, apparently his score goes down.
Yeah.
And I hope that's a trend for any Democrat that decides to run their entire campaign on, let's take away guns from America. And it doesn't help that currently the House is now trying to strip the First Amendment away from people because, hey, we couldn't get the Second Amendment, so let's go for the First instead. I'm getting tired of our government. Seriously tired.
Yeah, love my country, disgusted with my government.
It
Ain't
goes
that
back
the
to the
truth?
kids again. Let's take a little bit of inspiration from those kids that got up and walked out. If we let that be the only incident, then it's going to fade off in the history and nobody's ever going to remember it. But if more people stand up and say, I've had enough, we're not going to put up with that. Even if it means just getting up and walking out, unsubscribing from something, taking your membership away, withdrawing your funds, standing up and protesting, you've got to make your voice loud and effective. And
Those kids deserve medals.
that's what I. But
They do.
the problem is if nobody follows up. If nobody follows up, then what they did will fall off into history, and nobody will ever remember it.
It'll go off into some obscurity.
Yeah. So we gotta remember next time you're at the board meeting or the NRA meeting, or somebody calls you asking for donations to a corrupt organization that you're a part of, and they've been misspending your funds, or the Democrat Party calls and says they want you to vote for them. Make your voice heard and let them know exactly why you're not gonna. Don't say, "Oh, I'm not supporting," and hang up. Give them an earful and let them know this is specifically why I'm not going to support you.
Tell them why. Absolutely right, because they need to hear it.
I mean,
And if enough people say it,
go ahead.
maybe something will happen. Who knows? All right, we're going to go ahead.
I miss the Democrats from the 50s because at least they liked guns.
Yeah.
They didn't like communism. They didn't like socialism. They liked guns.
Right. Well, yeah, no, they
it
love
isn't that they didn't
communism.
like communism. It's that they weren't communists and socialism.
They're actual Democrats.
Like they are now.
Right, but then you'd also have to take into consideration that the Democrats have been responsible for all the wars we've got in, except for Afghanistan and Iraq. The Democrats have been responsible for all the corruption with slavery. Thank you, Democrats. 3/5 of a person. Thank you, Democrats. Jim Crow. Thank you, Democrats. The Democrat Party has never been good.
You're right on those parts, but as far as every war of the 20th century. It's not their fault.
No, I'm not saying
I
it's their
kind of
fault,
think Japan might have had something to do with that.
No. I'll tell you right now, Vietnam was not the Democrats' fault. You know whose fault the Vietnam was? It's called the French.
Yeah. Well,
I just need to make that point because also technically World War II you can blame on the French too because of the Treaty of Versailles. But sorry.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and hi, Warsaw. How you doing? We're going to go ahead and move into the self-defense shoutouts, which is Roll Call's favorite segment. For those of you who are new to the show or who have never stuck around to the end, self-defense shoutouts are not where I am reveling in the death or injury of the bad guy. It is where I am instead reveling in the fact that the good guy had the means, method, and opportunity to prevent the bad guy from issuing said death or injury. Yes. So first off is we're going to go to Breitbart, and the headline reads, watch, Kentucky man opens fire on 4 home invasion suspects. A Warren County, Kentucky man opened fire on 4 home invasion suspects, at least one of whom was armed. WAFB 9 reports that the lead suspect exchanged gunfire with the homeowner, 24-year-old Austin Orwig, and Orwig was struck in his hand by a bullet. WDBJ 7 reports that the security video shows that someone kicked the door in and 4 intruders entered the home. An exchange of gunfire erupted just seconds after the suspect made entry. But you know what? They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, so video's got to be worth 1,000,000. So let's go ahead and show this one. Don't know if you guys can see that, so let's go ahead.
What a bunch of punks.
Sure looked like they went a running, didn't they? They scattered like roaches.
No, I think they were a little faster than roaches.
Well, let's watch that again in full screen.
Now, were they armed?
Yeah. See
Oh,
the
yeah.
It looks like they're all
watch
armed.
the guy in the red. First guy that comes in, he's got a pistol in his hand right here. He's got a pistol. He's got a pistol. Yeah, they were all armed. Totally
That's it.
justified in shooting them.
That goes right back to the Great Equalizer.
Yeah.
I can't remember who said it, but somebody on Gun Channels brought it up a couple weeks ago that one man standing there in a fight with three guys is probably
You're
going to
done.
lose. One man standing there with a knife against three guys with a knife, you're going to lose. One guy with a gun against three guys with a gun, right there shows you can win.
Especially if you have a 30-round magazine.
So there you go. That pretty definitively shows why you should. Yeah, it shows why I carry every pants on, gun on. That's kind of my my rule.
Yep.
So yeah, according to WNKY, Warren County Sheriff Brett Hightower indicated there was no evidence that the suspects were struck by gunfire. They turned and ran as soon as Orwig began shooting. So good for him that he was able to defend himself against those 3 or 4 pieces of human filth. And of course, I'm being generous by calling them human. I know.
Well, that's also a good look at the criminal element, because a lot of times these discussions, we give the criminal element this like James Bond evil guy status to where, they're going to tuck and roll behind the couch and return fire and jump through the window. No, most criminals are cowards and don't want any kind of conflict that they're not 100% in control of.
Yep. Absolutely right. Andrew Faulkner says ABC, always be carrying. Yeah, absolutely right, man. I got to agree with that one. Next up from KOAT7, police, pastor, wife in fear of their lives, shoot and kill armed intruder by Chelsea Robinson from May 7th, 2019. Houston, police in Texas say a pastor and his wife shot and killed a man who was breaking into their home Saturday. KPRC reports it happened around 11 p.m. in West Houston. The intruder reportedly kicked the back door open. A preliminary investigation revealed that the residents were asleep in their bed when they were awakened by a loud noise. While investigating the cause of the noise, they noticed their backyard gate was open and saw a male suspect in their backyard. Police said in a statement obtained by ABC News. The suspect then forced his way and gained entry into the residence. The residents, in fear for their lives, discharged their firearms several times, striking the suspect. Police say the couple then went outside, placed their guns on the ground, and waited for police to arrive. The suspect, which was actually kind of smart, I think I would have waited until the police were pulling up to put my gun on the ground, but it was smart to get rid of the weapon before the officer started walking up. The suspect, identified as 24-year-old Roberto Sanchez, died at the scene. The United Methodist Church issued a statement confirming his home was occupied by United Methodist Church pastor Jeff Powers and his wife. The shooting happened a day before Powers was scheduled to give his last sermon at Westminster United Methodist Church. Police said charges against the homeowners are unlikely. Well, I would sure hope they'd be unlikely. It sounds to me like a good shoot.
What state is it?
Texas.
Yeah, they're not going to get charged.
Armament Axes out there asked how many of us were carrying at NRAM. We were. How many shootings happened there? Well, I can tell you that because as I was leaving on Sunday from the National Rifle Association annual meeting in Indianapolis, I spoke with one of the police officers who was there, and I asked him, so we had 80,000 people come through here this weekend. How many incidents were there where you guys had to get involved? And he said 0. It ain't the guns, folks.
An armed society is a polite society.
Hey, that's the funniest thing. It's what a coincidence. At the Monday at the Harrisburg, PA rally, no guns went off. Nobody got hurt. I thought it was just a one-off thing, but if you're saying it happened again somewhere else where a bunch of guns were, then this is crazy.
Somebody's colluding with somebody somewhere.
Guys, two random coincidences an entire year it's just a miracle. So it's
that's statistically insignificant, right?
Right.
And last but absolutely not least, from Breitbart again, woman who shot suspect, I feared for my life and everyone in my house. A Memphis woman who shot an intrusion suspect said, I feared for my life and everyone in my house. According to WREG, police indicate that William Barnes was shot after he kicked in the front door of a home on South Holmes Street. Barnes allegedly entered the home and told the woman he was trying to find someone. Sharon Moorhead says she saw Barnes on her security camera before he allegedly made entry. She called police twice, then opened fire once Barnes allegedly kicked in the door. Fox 13 quoted Moorhead saying, he started kicking the door in, and I just started shooting. I didn't have time to talk to him. I shot him because I feared for my life and everyone in my house. She added, thieves and criminals don't care. They're coming to get you and whatever you have, and you have a right to protect yourself and your belongings. Ma'am, I could not have said that better myself. So there you have it, folks. Despite what NPR and the libs would have you believe, the good guy with a gun does stop the bad guy with a gun. We just showed you 3 instances of it, just like I do every week. It's kind of funny how that happens, isn't it? And they're all fresh. Since the last, I make sure that all my self-defense shout-outs that I do are happened since the last time I did my show. So it's not like I'm digging back into the past for stuff. It's stuff that's happened within the past 7 days. So there you go, folks. Just want to say thank you to everybody who came by in the chat and everybody who came by on the panel. Let me go ahead and start to roll up the awnings and sweep up the sidewalks here. Start off with Kingpin himself, David Bowling. Anything you'd like to leave us with? Any plugs, anything like that, sir?
Yeah, I'll actually do a couple plugs this time. One, of course, is for Budget Guns and Gear reviews every Friday night, Right of the People, 7 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you check it out. Look at the rest of his videos. Really
Or
great
Sunday
stuff
if
there.
I have to do a makeup show.
It's a good treat for a Sunday evening. Check out Dead Horse on gun channels during the week now in the mornings, and check out Unloaded Media coming up next, I believe. I haven't talked to Rich yet, but usually goes about 8 o'clock Sunday night.
All right. Night Strike, anything you'd like to leave us with, sir? Headphone warning, people.
No, I'm not going to do that right now. No, I'm just going to say shall not be infringed. And I'm not going to yell it tonight.
All right.
Because it's Mother's Day. So, make sure if you have already, call your mom, say Happy Mother's Day. If you haven't done so, and visited her already. And for all your wives that are mothers of your children, make sure you take care of them too, because it's on you. Anyways, other than that, just check out, Hit or Miss every Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock, and guntube.org.
Thank you. Warsaw, I know we didn't really get to talk with you today. You hopped in kind of late, but thanks for hopping in. Do you have anything that you'd like to leave us with? Any plugs, any last thoughts on this?
To the perspective with the Stanton middle school shooting.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm really happy. They said enough is enough. With the left and all that, I definitely am putting dibs on them. I'm happy for them. This stuff doesn't stop, and I've been telling people, yes, it's a First Amendment right, but does news media really need to keep posting shootings? Because what does that do? It creates more copycats, and more copycats cause more killings, and that's where it leads to dispute about gun control or not gun control.
And there you go. Got a $5 super chat out there. Thank you, Armament Axes. Thanks for the G-Webs patch budget. Sorry we got lost trying to make the picture taking. Hey, not a problem, man. That patch was given to me by Squib when I met him at the rally here in Ohio, and I figured I would pass it along to somebody else who didn't have one. So there you go, man. You're welcome to it. And as in the bleh. In closing, speaking of thanks, again, I'd like to thank everybody out there in the chat. I am always amazed and happy that you guys think I'm worth spending an hour talking with. I think you're crazy, but hey, I love it. Thank you very much. Again, thanks to everybody on the panel who stopped by. I very much appreciate it. And as always, I'm going to leave you with the admonition to talk to your Congress critters and elected representatives. Let them know what you think about these issues. Send them telephone, telegraph, snail mail, email, carrier pigeon, smoke signals, bicycle messenger, semaphore, heliograph. Do whatever you have to do to let them know what you think, and never, ever, ever give up the fight.